All right, well, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Meredith. I'm one of the health coaches and personal trainers at Holtyn Wellness. And today we're going to talk about facts on backs. So steps for becoming back pain free. So if you're joining us today, chances are maybe you've had back pain in the past, or maybe you have it currently, especially with we're working from home more. We're not used to doing the things that we are doing lately, like walking as much or staying active as much. So we might experience more back pain. So 80% of you too will probably experience some back pain at some point. So if we see this slide here, people that feel back pain at some point, it is the number 2 most common reason for doctor's visits, which is an alarming amount of visits for the doctor for your lower back pain. And currently it's the number 1 cause of disability in people under the age of 45. And it's one of the most common reasons for missing work. So as you can see, it is a major cause of pain in a lot of Americans today. And in particular, we're going to be talking about that, again, the lower back. So we have 3 different curves in our spine. We have the cervical curve, which is kind of right at our neck. We have the thoracic curve, which makes up our thoracic cage and everything else. And then we have our lumbar curve. And that is going to be that lower back curve where a lot of us experience that lower back pain. And so we're going to dive down into the causes of that back pain. So number 1, muscle tear. So if you are tearing something, maybe you picked up something off the ground and you had bad form and you kind of twisted and then you felt, oh, ow, I think I tore something in my back. That's going to be that muscle tear. Something more structural is going to be a herniated disc or a ruptured disc, maybe sciatica. That is going to be a structural problem that you'll have to go see a physical therapist, a physician, and kind of work out the problems with them. And then we have movement and posture. So say you're lifting up something off of the ground, but you do it with poor technique and you just kind of tweak something, or say you've been sitting down all day at a desk and you just have bad posture. So maybe you're hunched over, you're not standing upright, maybe you're standing all day. That can also cause some lower back pain as well. So muscle tear, structural problem, and then that movement and posture. And today we're going to be mainly focusing on trying to fix that movement and posture. So some risk factors that we can become aware of. So there are some modifiable risk factors to lower back pain and some non-modifiable risk factors. So we have age, unfortunately, is a non-modifiable risk factor. Back pain typically occurs in the ages of 30 to 50, actually, so kind of that middle age range. So maybe we're not as active as we used to be in our teens and 20s, and then all of a sudden we get into our 30s and 40s and 50s, and we're experiencing more of that back pain. Another reason could be your fitness level. So people who are more sedentary are going to experience more back pain. Again, maybe it's because as we're aging into our 30s and 40s, we're not active as much. We don't have as much time to work out or go for walks. You know, we're busy with work and then children, and we're not really prioritizing fitness or just movement more throughout the day. So I'm encouraging you all, try to get more movement throughout your day. If you're getting 3,000 to 4,000 steps a day, that is going to put you at an increased risk for just experiencing some of that lower back pain because we're not getting in enough movement. Aiming for around 6,000 to upwards of 10,000 steps a day to increase our movement throughout the day will help decrease that lower back pain in the future. And then pregnancy is obviously non-modifiable. So if you're pregnant, you're more likely to have that back pain. Why? Because you have that weight loading and you're going to have that anterior pelvic tilt in your pelvis. So your pelvis is going to go up and tucked under, and you're just going to have a lot of pain on that lower lumbar spine. and then weight gain as well. Hopefully this is something that we can become lowered, and it's something that we can change through fitness level and becoming less sedentary. So people who are maybe over their BMI, or in particularly over their percent body fat, they're going to be at an increased risk for back pain as well, because of that extra weight and stress that's being placed on that lower lumbar spine. So again, implementing a workout routine, or simply trying to get more steps throughout your day. I would too try to encourage steps throughout your weekday as well. Oftentimes we see people being very active on the weekends, and then Monday through Friday is just kind of survival mode, and we're not really getting any movement. We're teaching, we're at our desk, we're not getting up and taking enough breaks. So encouraging movement throughout your weekday as well. And then occupational risk factors. If you have a job, again, where you're sitting all day, maybe you're lifting things, if you're outside, even if you're doing some landscaping or mulching at home, you're lifting, and those are some things that can increase your risk of lower back pain, mainly because you're not doing it with correct technique. But hopefully this is something that's modifiable, and we can teach you guys some correct techniques throughout the rest of the presentation. So how do we become back pain free? The first thing we have to do is to assess, understand why we have that back pain and what is the cause of that back pain. So this is a great point where I would want you to consult your medical provider or a physical therapist to understand the cause of that back pain. Because if we don't know where it came from, it's going to be hard to get rid of it. Because number two is to remove the cause. So once you understand why you have that back pain, you figure it out with your physical therapist. It is my chair, it is your desk, it is something. You're going to want to get a new desk, get a new chair, fix your form, take walking breaks. And then number three is to create that exercise program. This is going to be very important in helping strengthen and stabilize your spine and your core, all of these muscles that are keeping our spine upright throughout the day. There is one example I know of a man who had lower back pain. He didn't know why. He went to his physical therapist multiple times to try to figure out how they can lessen his lower back pain. And over time, with talking through the physical therapist, they realized, oh my gosh, you were sitting with this huge wallet in your back pocket and you're sitting down all day. So imagine sitting down with a huge wallet in your back pocket. Your hips are going to become even slightly unstable or slightly out of whack. And over time, that right hip became tight, that left hip was just kind of drooping down, and this other hip was compensating for that. So the physical therapist assessed the situation, figured out where that source of lower back pain came into, removed the cause, so removed the wallet, figured out another place to keep your money, and then started that exercise program to help strengthen that left hip or that other hip, and then kind of loosen out some of those other hip muscles on the other end as well. So it's wonderful speaking with a physical therapist and a doctor to try to brainstorm why you have that lower back pain, because oftentimes we're not sure as well. It could be in a range of things. So we're going to talk about the form fix. So number one, you're going to assess why you have that lower back pain with either a physical therapist or a doctor. Number two, we're going to go right now and talk into fixing bad form, because if you do have bad form, we'll hopefully learn how to fix it right here. So when you're picking something up off of the ground, so say a chair, a purse, a bag, some textbooks, a potted plant, we want to make sure we're picking all of these things up with good form. So often we just grab something quickly and we're twisting, we're turning, we're not thinking. And it is hard to be very conscious about good form when we're going throughout our day. But it's so important to remember good form, because in those moments, that's when we tweak our back or we pull something and we end up having back pain for a while. So when you're picking something up off of the ground, we want to assume shoulder width base of support. So if you are at your desk or at home, and if you feel free to, you can try to perform some of these proper form fixes right now if you would like. So you're going to stand close to the object, and you're going to lead back with your bottom. So hips are going to go all the way back. So if you look at that gentleman, his hips are back, his knees aren't really bent forward. So this is almost what's called a deadlift exercise. And if you go to the gym and if you know how to do a deadlift, you're going to be performing this technique when you're picking something up off of the ground. If you don't know how to do a proper deadlift, I would encourage you to listen to these pointers, but also see a personal trainer or a physical therapist to make sure you are doing the correct form at home, or even when you're at the gym learning this basic movement. Everyone should know how to perform a deadlift properly. Doesn't matter if you're picking up, 100 pounds of weight or just a purse or a bag. We all still need good, proper technique. It's not the weight that will hurt your back. A lot of times it's the form that will hurt our back. So again, bottom is back, hips are back, and then we're going to keep our spine neutral, and then we're just going to go down and pick up that weight. I'll ask everyone to mute themselves too. Unless you have a question, you can unmute yourself. And pick up that weight and then just increase your hips forward. And then I'll have everyone mute yourself, please. Valerian, I'll have yourself. Thank you. And then right here, we see another form fix, just a visual. So the weight is, the load is down on the ground. That individual's coming close to that weight. They're picking it up close to them, using that good technique as a deadlift, and moving it on their way. And then also you can see if you're carrying multiple loads, 3 containers or 3 boxes. There is a, I'm sorry guys, one moment. Okay, sorry about that, I muted them. So if you have multiple boxes or multiple potted plants or books or groceries, and we think we can do it all in one trip, I would encourage you just to take a breather, take a deep breath, say, okay, I'm going to do it with good form. I'm going to take multiple trips and it'll be okay. Or if you have a dolly, utilize a dolly, utilize a coworker if they're right with you, ask them to take that extra load that you're carrying, because again, we want to make sure we're doing something with good form and we're not stressing our spine or our back. Even though we think we can take everything in one setting, I'm sure we can, but over time, if we continue to do that, eventually we're going to do it with incorrect form, unfortunately. And we want to make sure we are preventing that bad form technique and preventing that lower back pain. So say you're picking up something off the ground that's very small, like a pen. So we're not going to go all the way down into a deadlift to try to pick up a pen off the ground. It's going to be kind of harder because it's so low on the ground. Or a water bottle like that gentleman. We're going to do what's called the golfer's lift. So you see a lot of golfers on TV doing exactly this lift. Why? Because it's proven to help reduce that back pain, and it's going to prevent any injuries to the back. Or they kind of squat all the way low to the ground. But you see them doing this form a lot. So it's going to be called a single leg deadlift. And it's very similar to a regular deadlift, except you're lifting one leg out behind you. So his left leg is extended out and his right arm is reaching down to pick up that pen or water bottle. And as you can see, his hips are level to the ground. Oftentimes we want that left hip to go up, but we want to make sure we're fighting that resistance and our hips are square and our spine is neutral as we're picking up that object. So again, fixing and knowing how to perform a regular deadlift, and then also a single leg deadlift. So talk to a personal trainer, making sure that you're doing these appropriately before you try to continue to do these throughout the day, just making sure that you do them with proper form. And then the correct sitting posture. So the lovely joys of working from home, a lot of us probably didn't have a wonderful ergonomical desk or a table or cushiony support system. So making sure that hopefully a year and a half into working from home, if you are, that you have been able to purchase a ergonomical chair, something to raise your laptop or your computer monitor screen. That way your eyesight is in level distance with the camera and you're not looking all the way down or all the way up. And also just simple things like your arms, making sure your arms are kind of almost at a 90-degree angle with a relaxed position in it as well. We're not typing all the way up here or all the way down low, and just our shoulders are very relaxed. Oftentimes we can feel like we're rigid, but just making sure that we have this correct anatomical sitting posture will also help throughout the day and lessen any lower back pain. So hopefully once we have fixed some form issues, so if you weren't doing something correctly, like picking up something off the ground, squatting, deadlifting correctly, hopefully you have some pointers on how to do that correctly. So now we're going to move into the exercise program section now. So an exercise program to help reduce lower back pain is mainly going to be performing isometric exercises to build muscular endurance. And that is kind of a mouthful. So isometric exercises are just exercises that activate or contract your muscles, but there's no movement. So an example would be a plank and a wall sit. So you're not doing anything, but you feel it after about 10 seconds. You feel the plank, you feel the squat, and that's what's called an isometric exercise. So we're going to focus on isometric exercises to build back endurance, not strength. Why endurance? Because we're standing all day or we're sitting all day and our spine is holding us up all day. It's endurance, not necessarily strength. So the back machines that we see in gyms, you know, we try to put it on 100 and then we get in it and we kind of push back and then go forward, push back and then go forward. Those aren't necessarily great at helping reduce back pain. We really want to focus on endurance and building up that core stability. So this is from one of the textbooks that I used for this presentation. Research has found that isometric exercises to enhance muscular endurance are far more superior when compared to dynamic strengthening exercises and enhancing spinal stiffness and stability. So basically, again, just making sure that we're doing those isometric exercises versus more dynamic, like that back exercise that you might find at the gym. So the Mcgill Big Three back exercises, Dr. Stuart Mcgill is a very world-renowned back expert. So if you're in the health and wellness industry, you probably have heard of Dr. Stuart Mcgill. He is all about back health. So he encourages everyone to do these 3 back exercises. I would encourage you to do them 2 to 3 times a week. Make sure you have good proper form. We have the curl up, so it looks similar to a crunch, where your hands are below your lower back. One leg is extended out, the other leg is bent, and we're just going to slowly bring our head up and then back down. And you're going to feel it contracting in your core muscles. The second exercise is the bird dog. We're going to be in that quadruped position where your knees and your arms on the ground, and you will extend out opposite limbs. So you're extending out your left arm with your right leg. And the point here is to focus on core stability, and we're not, moving all over the place. It's going to be hard to stabilize. And we want to make sure you can hold that position out for a count and then bring it back in. And some pointers with that one, making sure your spine is neutral, not arched or curved very much. And then you bring it back in and do 6 repetitions on one side, 6 repetitions with your other limbs. And then the side bridge, very similar to a plank. You're going to be building up those core muscles here as well, aiming for 30 seconds. So I believe I attached this in the email I sent out with the webinar link. So feel free to reference these, bring these to your personal trainer or a physical therapist, and make sure you're doing these with correct form. So say you've done these 3 exercises for a while now, you feel very confident in them and you want to change it up. Feel free to incorporate the front plank, and that's going to be a great one for your core as well. Say you can hold a plank for a minute and you need some more of a challenge. Stir the pot is a great advanced option. If you have a stability ball, you're going to be doing rotations, maybe 5 clockwise, 5 counterclockwise, and then see how you're feeling again with good form, making sure you have a nice straight neutral spine and you're not sunken in or your bottom is up in the air. So I threw in these 2. So say if you have maybe knee problems or you don't want to get down on the ground like that, the Powell press right here to the left is a wonderful alternative to do, but you do have to be at a gym to perform this exercise. You have to have a cable right next to you. As you can see, she has a cable adjusted at chest height and then a single arm attachment. And you're grabbing that weight probably to the lowest setting, and you're just going to extend it out in front of you and then bring it back close to your chest. Extend it out, hold it for a count, and then back in. Our natural inclination is when we're out here, we're going to want to go towards that cable or towards the pulley because of that weight, but we're stabilizing using our core and our spine muscles to keep that weight straight and then back in. And then we have dead bug, which you are on the ground and you're going to be almost performing the same thing like bird dog, except on your back. So you're going to extend out your left leg and then your right arm, keeping your back planted to the ground, coming back in, and then extending the opposite arms and limbs out. So again, these are great alternatives to add in if you want to change it up, or if you can't do something that's hurting your knees, try to do Powell press. And again, there's sets and ranges for beginners, and then the more advanced stir the pot option if you would like more of a challenge. So those are some exercises that we should be adding in 2 to 3 times a week to build up our core and our back endurance. And stretching is a wonderful thing to add in as well. So we have the cat camel stretch, and all of these stretches again too are recommended by Dr. Stuart Mcgill, and he recommends we do them every single day. So the cat camel stretch, we are on all fours on the ground. We're going to extend our spine up like a cat and then back down like a camel. And we're just going to take our spine kind of through a fluid motion. We're not going to force it up. We're not going to force it down. The point here is just to take the spine in that natural motion and just kind of stretch it out. Do 6 rounds of this. And then here we have the psoas stretch. So we see the psoas is a very important muscle to stretch because it is directly attached to our lumbar spine. So oftentimes we need to stretch this out if we're feeling some lower back pain, and this is one of the best stretches we can do. It is a dynamic lunge stretch, so we're going to get in that lunge position. Say his right leg is forward, and then he's again reaching that opposite arm up, so that left arm up, and then turning to feel that stretch in that psoas. So he'll feel that psoas stretch in that left leg. And then he would take a step forward and do it again with that other leg and other arm. And we're recommending 6 repetitions on both legs and every day. airplane hip openers. So this one is going to be a little bit more advanced. So make sure you have a stable surface or a chair next to you. It looks very similar to that single leg deadlift. So again, a very important technique we can all try to be learning how to do properly. He's extending that one leg out, hips are square, and he's just slightly turning his hips open and then back forward. Open and then closing the hips again. And again, this is just enhancing some of that mobility in the hips and hopefully that spine as well. So again, do 6 rotations on each hip and switch. And then the last stretch will be the spine overhead stretch. So this is a great one to do at your work desk every day. So say you've been sitting at your desk for 3 hours, you haven't had a break, stand up, do a nice overhead stretch. You're gonna feel it in your lats, in your lower back, and it will just loosen up some of those muscles that have been tight throughout your day. So those are the 4 main stretches that you can start implementing every day. And again, see if you can find a personal trainer or a physical therapist to make sure you're doing, especially the airplane hip openers correctly, the psoas stretch correctly. And I would recommend doing the first 3 exercises in the morning throughout your work week. So cat camel, psoas stretch, and airplane hip openers. Do them first thing in the morning. And then this spine overhead stretch is a wonderful one to incorporate throughout your work day. So the key takeaways here are move, move, move more. If you're not getting enough steps in, try to move more. If we're sedentary, we're just going to increase our risk of lower back pain. Try to walk, join a pickleball league, join volleyball, do a walking crew, go to a gym, do Zumba. There's so many different options out there. Find what works for you and then stretch smarter and incorporate smarter exercises and form techniques into your day and pay attention to the simple things. I always give the example of brushing my teeth. Even when I'm brushing my teeth, I try to make sure I exhibit almost like that deadlift form where my hips are back, my butt is back. I'm not hunched over the sink brushing my teeth or something like that. So it's the little things trying to fix our form at all times, and hopefully it will just become second nature. The more we do it, the easier it will become and the less we have to think about it every time. And again, I've said it multiple times here, always consult your physician before beginning any exercise program. And this is general information. It's not intended to diagnose you with anything or any medical condition, just some knowledge that you guys can hopefully implement throughout your work week and your day. So I am going to stop recording here.